What is up? Brad here, American Ethnographers. Wanted to share some thoughts with you. Had this kind of going through my head for a while, wanted to get it down. It's a theory of music. What is music? How does music kind of happen as a thing? So kind of one foundational thing that I think we often get wrong is that music is first and foremost a social phenomenon. And that's something that understandably we all get kind of backwards. We experience music as individuals and we think about it as something that's idiosyncratic, right? I have this taste, I like this thing. But really, music for both producers and consumers of music is something that happens in connection with others around us. We learn to do music from others. We learn about style and genre from other people. And then we filter our tastes through our identities and experiences, right? Maybe a post explaining that later on. But I think in its practice, music is really kind of a balance between two kind of competing kinds of things. On the one hand, music is something that is predictable. So music is something that through its repetition, we learn to predict what is coming ahead. And so there's that great line that Adam Neely shared with all of us, repetition legitimates. And I think that's really at the heart of kind of what music is and helps us to connect with, right? So at its very basic, right, you've got that kind of bass, the BASE bass, right? Just say, a regular pattern. But that gets really stale and boring, right? That's not only predictable, it's overly predictable. And so we need to mix it up. So the other part that balances out that predictability is the way that we sometimes surprise, right? We do something that challenges those earlier predictable assumptions. And so in kind of basic ways, right? Think about just a basic drum beat. You've got, 4 on the floor, right? Just a kick drum. And then you add in some kind of accent, right? So bass snare, right? That's very basic, is it seems to us who are so used to it as something that's natural and usual. At some point that wasn't, right? Somebody did that and it was surprising. It was shocking. When you were a kid, you heard that for the first time and you were like, holy shit, that's weird. And you loved it because of that, right? Somewhat predictable. And then it throws you for a loop, but then becomes predictable again because of that, right? That's how I think we largely generate style, right? So style is really about the perpetuation of a surprise, right? You've got something that's usual and normal, and then you get kind of veered off into something new, but that new thing becomes old. So another way to think about it, I think, is rhythmically to think about syncopation, right? Syncopation is arguably one of the kind of biggest innovations in music, maybe ever, certainly of the last, maybe 1,000 or 2 years, right? Is in the late 1800s with ragtime, all of a sudden, you've got that weird kind of really radically unexpected kind of emphasis on a different part of the way that we've broken down a bar, right? So the very straight kind of marches that were going on, the straight kind of traditional folk music that was happening, and then all of a sudden you've got Joplin and others who are drawing on these traditions that completely throw people for a loop, right? So think about The Entertainer, The Maple Leaf Rag, right? Those songs, right? What's really kind of catchy about them is that you've got that emphasis on the different part of the beat. So it's da 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 da, right? That's not expected, right? That's new. Takes that usual repetition, throws a monkey wrench in it, and it gets us all hooked, right? That's the tie-in that gets us there. You can think about it lyrically, right? I just said the hook, and so often the hook is something lyrically where you don't expect it. It's something new. It's a twist on the way you're supposed to think about it. It's about double entendre or pun, right? All of that is stuff that brings us in. It keeps it interesting, right? So that balance, right? I think that's music, right? Music is predictability tempered with surprise. And so that back and forth is what keeps us all in there, keeps us going. And that's, I think, what the gist of all this is about. So, all right, for what it's worth, maybe more later on that first part about the social stuff. All right, thanks.